wonderful to see the community turn up in full swing for a topic which touches all of us in very different ways. So it's fantastic. People are still streaming in, so I guess we should wait a little bit to get started, right? Sana, Sneha?
Yeah, ma'am. We'll wait for a while and then we'll start. Hello everyone. Just for an icebreaker, can you guys tell me where are you from? What is your educational background and what age group you belong? You can put your answer on chat box or simply unmute yourself and talk to us. Okay, I'll start with myself. I'm Sana Churi. I'm from a small place called Bordi. It's a small village. And I've just graduated with a degree of Bachelor of Management Studies, and I'm really looking forward to this session, ma'am. Ma'am, can we begin?
Sure.
Hi, Nidhi. I guess we have a wide range of audience. We have students from 15 age to we have someone adults with us. So we have a wide range of audience with us from various fields. Obviously, it's a mix of all, I guess. Okay, I'll start with the session. Good evening, everyone present here. Aspire for Her Foundation welcomes you to a webinar session on a no to a yes, sidestepping your inner critic by Sailaja. I am Sana Churi and I am moderating this session. We promise you that this session will be insightful and will help you for your future and boosting your self-confidence. Before starting with the webinar, I would like to introduce our CEO and founder of Aspire for Her, Madhura Das Gupta Sinha. Madhura ma'am is the founder and CEO of Aspire for Her, a social startup to motivate young women to enter and stay in the workforce. Ma'am has been a banker for the last 25 years, holding leadership positions in IDFC, Standard Chartered, and ANZ Greenlace Bank. After an MBA from XLRI and electrical engineering from Jadavpur University. Now I would request Madhura ma'am to introduce the audience AFH and share a little about the foundation.
Thank you so much, Sana. And Sai, a warm welcome to Aspire for Her. You have already been a part of Aspire for Her for a really long time, but we haven't really interacted in this mode. So thank you so much for doing this for the community. Aspire for Her was born last year on Women's Day because we wanted to motivate women to enter and stay in the workforce. And this was born out of a sense of disappointment and disheartening and in a shock actually in my head, because I was seeing that India was featuring among the worst countries in terms of women's economic participation and empowerment in the Global Gender Gap Index. Um, I didn't think that's where we should be, and I thought someone ought to do something about it, and I thought that someone should be me. That's how Aspire for Her was born. And we today have a community size of 65,000 members, mentors, and supporters across 60 different countries. And we have some wonderful partners, and you will be seeing some of them here today. Our mentor community is very rich, and we have more than 100 women who are CEOs, CXOs, women leaders from various walks of life, whose sole interest in Aspire for Her is to ensure that the generation of young women, generation of women who are wanting to get into the workforce actually find a place, find economic prosperity, and find that bridge between their ambition and aspiration. So that's why it is we keep on having sessions with our mentors like this. And today we have Sai on a topic which is close to everyone's heart: how to turn a no into an yes. So I'm very, very thrilled and eagerly looking forward to what Sai has to say on this, because in our lives, personal lives, professional lives, we often hear a no. No, you shouldn't be working. No, you shouldn't be going out. No, you shouldn't be doing this. No, you shouldn't be wearing that. But all of us have aspirations, and Aspire for Her is here to ignite that passion in all of you. So thank you very much. Back to you, Sana. Eagerly looking forward to the session.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now I would like to call upon Anuradha ma'am to introduce our speaker, Sailaja ma'am.
Thank you, Madhura and Ruchita, for letting me do this. Thank you, Sai, for being here. I'm having a fangirl moment, honestly. And before I formally introduce Sai, I just want to quickly take 2 minutes to share a story. Sai and I started working in September 2019. And, we started working for a book launch. And I took up the project without knowing what lied ahead in front of me in terms of life. And I had the darkest phase of my life then. And we not only completed the project very well, Sai's book went on to become a bestseller in 5 categories on Amazon. And the whole credit I give to her leadership. At a time when people cannot function, and Sai, she streamlined everything, and I think after the bestseller launch happened, I remember giving a call to Sai, telling what exactly had happened in my life, because she has been so patient. She has guided me that I think she deserved to know. 2-3 months later, I was almost at the verge of, quitting my career in a way, because there was so much of discrimination based on the gender that it was very difficult to move ahead. And that's again, Sai told me to rest and not to quit. She told me to take 3 weeks off. And Sai, you saved my career. I mean, Think Not Consulting wouldn't be here perhaps if I hadn't, heard you. And when I say I don't mean just Anuradha, I mean thousands of men, women, and girls that Sai coach. Sai will perhaps not name them just because she's so private about leadership. Coaching is a very, very private space. And right now, I know Sai coaches some of the top CEOs and CTOs of the big organization, but Sai will never name them, because that's Sai, for her, privacy is very, very important, right? And so my request to all of you here is that, every time that we make a plan for life, but life has different plans for us. So it's very, very important that not only to invest in your IIT, IIMs, and the other certification, but to invest in your personal growth and your personal development. And today you have somebody who is best in the field to teach you and to mentor you. So Sai, thank you for being here. Just to give a little bit introduction to Sai, Sai is a psychotherapist and transformational coach. She's working with the senior management and leadership teams. She has worked with the leaders in the IT, telecom, and BPO industries. Sai has been working since 2010 with the focus on women and leadership within the corporate space and outside of it. Sai has also developed a first digital women leadership program, which is called Step Up. Sai's book, Step Up, has gone on to become a bestseller in several categories. What is so interesting about her that Sai, till today, she continues to train herself, upskill herself. Sai has the highest degree of training in her core fields. She's a professional certified coach from the International Coach Federation, involved in coaching leadership for the last 15 years and in the field of personal transformation since 20 years. She has over 10 years of a corporate career and was the head of HR with a Bangalore-based telecom software company. She's an accredited psychotherapist and a trainer of psychotherapists of the International Transactional Analysis Association. Her clients includes Siemens Technology and Service, Cerner Healthcare, Infosys, FirstSource, Adobe, amongst others. Welcome, Sai. It's such a privilege and honor to learn from you, and just to be able to see that how you react in most of the situation. Trust me, I have become a better leader and a better entrepreneur, and I'm sure I can vouch that each of the Sai's coaches will agree to that. Thank you, Sai, for being here. It's such an honor and privilege. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words and such affectionate words, Anu and Madhura. I just feel I'm with a group of friends, which is a great place as we begin. So what I want you to do is grab a pen and a paper, because while we may not have tremendous interaction in the time that I'm speaking, there are things that I will keep pausing and asking you to do, because my promise is at the end of this 30 minutes that you will have some insights for yourself about your inner critique, and you will also have some ideas of how to support yourself. And we can do that if we keep pausing and you keep writing out some stuff that I invite you to do. So before we start, just take a few moments to do that, and then we dive straight in. And let me just share my screen. Sana, I will be able to share screen, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's do that. Excellent. So the no to yes journey is, there's one journey that we make when others keep saying no to us. And the parallel journey that we make is when we say no to ourselves. Yeah, so therefore we are talking today about this part of us that says no to ourselves. Yeah. You see, in any kind of situation, we are a certain observer. So if you are going to attend an interview and you're telling yourself, I don't know if I can manage this. This other person, she's really smart, and I think she's going to make this. This is a particular observer who is seeing the situation in this way, right? Or if there is a great opportunity and your leader has offered that opportunity in a meeting, you don't put up your hand because you're saying, I don't know. I mean, do I really have what it takes? I think these two people, they are go-getters. Yeah, they have what it takes. You see, there is a certain observer who is looking at the world, at them and at yourself. So at any given time, we are a kind of observer all the time, yeah, that we are spending our awake hours. And from that observer comes our actions, and from those actions come our results. So if we are the observer that is putting ourselves down, is second guessing, is wondering, is waiting on the sidelines, you see, from that kind of observer, there is a particular actor that emerges. And that actor will not take action, will be sitting down tight, butt on the chair, will not be making any movements or any offers and putting up your hand. And therefore, the result is what it is. So at any given time, we need to shift our observer. And I'm hoping that the session on the inner critique today will allow you to notice what kind of observer are you in different situations. Because when we shift this observer, this lens through which we're looking at the world, the actions will automatically follow. Yeah. And so part of this observer is this, am I good enough question that a lot of us walk with. I do think women walk with this question much more than men, because I've had enough men in the audience saying, oh, even I can relate to this. And I say, yes, I'm sure. This is a human condition. Yeah. And yet I think women walk with this question much more for various, social reasons of our upbringing. Yeah. So am I good enough is a question that is held in our observer. And I find it's a very valuable thing to understand this part of us that holds this question, because it holds us back from our leadership. So I'm just hoping you've got your pen and paper, right now, and that you are going to begin the process of making notes as I talk. Yeah. So what is the inner critique? It's the critical voice inside of us, by which we say rude things to ourselves. We have self-doubting words. We keep questioning, can we think well? Am I looking okay? Am I communicating okay? Or, something's wrong in the way I am. We put ourselves down. We keep telling ourselves we're not ready. All of this is coming from that part which we are calling the inner critique. Yeah. And as I go ahead, let's begin to take a step back for a moment and just look at this image. Yeah, there is a little self inside this adult self, right? What does that mean? We all have been shaped by so many experiences that we've had from our early years, our family of origin, the people who brought us up, the schools that we've gone to, the kind of performance culture that we have been exposed to in school, in college, in sport, what has been the learning culture we've had. All of it has an influence on us, and it shapes us on an everyday basis. And this shape, is part of this inner critique and the observer that I'm talking about. Yeah. And so all of us have had experiences where people whom we look up to, people whom we consider people of authority, they are what I call parent voices. And this is a concept that I take from transactional analysis. Yeah, and these parent voices, or these voices of the bigger people in our life, some of us have had terrible experiences of people telling us things like, for example, I've had a teacher saying, you are always going to get 0 marks. I was terrible in Marathi. Yeah, I studied in Mumbai and I was terrible in Marathi for many years. And this voice, would ring in my head for a long time. Yeah, so we've all had some adults or the other that have told us not so nice things. Yeah, so you're dumb, you're stupid. Why are you like this? How many times have I told you? Can't you think and do things? You are always like this, etc. But some of us have also had positive experiences, of good mentors, good people of authority in our lives who've encouraged us, who've told us that you think well, you're so smart, you're good. So what I want to tell you is that these voices, were theirs at one time, but we take it in and they become part of who we are. They rest in a certain part of our personality and they sit there, and they can later, come up as part of our inner critique, right? So bosses, parents, teachers, sometimes older siblings, if we have, friends whom we see them as authority and we see them as something, wonderful and grand, what they tell us, in terms of the positives or the negatives, they stick and they stay with us. So this is one aspect from where the inner critique comes. And as all this is going on for us with these other people, these bigger people in our lives, all of these words, are going in, and the feelings and the experience of what we feel when we listen to that, some of it is cringeworthy. Yeah, some of us can really go into a shell. Some of us felt terrible. Some of us felt ashamed. We felt bad. We felt we were a nobody. These are our experiences when we were younger, right? And that goes in, to these, to another part of us, and it remains there. So you can think of it as a cupboard of our experiences, through our growing years. And I often love to use, this analogy. If you look at this is a block of wood, right? And in this block of wood is recorded all the ages, of this tree that this block of wood is from. And similarly, our 3-year-old, our 9-year-old, our 16-year-old, our 18-year-old, all the experiences that we've had of all this criticism, putting down, shame, any of that, these experiences are recorded here. And so therefore there is one input, which is, the voices of people. And there is another piece, which is us and our range of experiences that we've had is also recorded. So these two together are part of our full experience of the inner critique. Yeah. And I've just got a small slice of psychology right here on the slide for you to begin to see, where does this come from? How is this formed? Yeah. And so when the inner critique shows up, now I want you to get your pen and paper. And as I'm talking, if there's something here that strikes you as you, yeah, where you say, this has happened to me. Yeah, this is me, right? Please make a note. So again, have you hesitated to take action when you see opportunity? Yeah, there's something right in front of you. There's a door that's open, but we dither and we think 20 times before we can say yes. Yeah. The other is, we want to share our ideas, but we are waiting and trying to get it perfect and right. And then somebody else already speaks up. And then we're saying, oh God, I should have done that. See that I had that idea. Yes, you had that idea, but then you were waiting and wondering and not speaking up. The other is, some of us overcommit. We overextend to others. We say yes, even when we want to say no, because we really, we want to please them. We get worried that they may not like us anymore. And so even when we want to say no, we will force ourselves to overextend ourselves. Some of us avoid asking for what we want. So we are aware of what we want. We know what the need is, but we say, it doesn't look nice. I'm not going to do it. How is it going to look? What will they think of me? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Some of us talk about ourselves in self-deprecating language. Yeah. We may be with a group of friends and we will be putting ourselves down, right? We do not hesitate multiple times a day to say, I'm so stupid. I'm so this, I'm so that. It's just part of our language. We don't think too badly about ourselves that we do that. But I'm just pointing out that some of us just do this a lot. Yeah. Some of us give away our power. Yeah. Which means if boundaries have to be set with others, we wobble around them. Yeah. We're not very clear. Some of us say sorry. Some of us say sorry so many times in a conversation, which is not needed. Yeah. Some of us minimize our contributions and value, right? We're unable to put up our hand and say, that was my idea. I loved that everybody liked it. But, I'm so glad that this came to my mind. Yeah, it's okay to do that, right? But some of us just discount that completely. And some of us, because of the inner critique, are not fully present with others. Yeah, it's like a buzz in our head and we're not even listening, right? So at this moment, I'm just going to ask that, some of us also hide behind a mask. So I'm just going to ask that you make a note, because I call these as leakages. What is leaking? Our capacity and energy for action. That's what's leaking. Yeah, and any of these, thoughts that arise in the inner critique, yeah, they leak our energy, and we spend so much more energy up there in our mind than actually taking the actions that we need to take. Yeah. So I'm just going to pause just 10 seconds, look at this and just write down, maybe there's one or two of this which are present in your life. All right, let's go forward. So some of us also experience, what we call the imposter syndrome, right? We hide behind a mask. And this is also part of the inner critique, conversation. So what do? We keep our ambitions and our aspirations under wraps until we are absolutely sure of success. You know why? We don't want to show up as less or not so good. So we put up a hand when we are 200% sure that we're going to deliver, right? And till then, everything is kept under wraps. Some of us work hard to keep this image of having it all together. Yeah. Interestingly, that's coming from the inner critique, because when we don't have it together, we put ourselves down and we say, see, You can't even do this. Look how ineffective you are. Look how inefficient you are. You can't even do this. And so we put all our energy in putting that front in front of others, that we have it all together, when actually we may be crumbling inside and exhausted. And that's part of the imposter syndrome. Some of us are passing up opportunities, to shine because we are really scared of failing and not meeting our own high standards. Yeah. And we also attribute a lot of success to luck, timing, or, maybe some other godmother or godfather that blessed us, right? So all of this is part of the imposter experience, and the imposter experience is part of the whole inner critique conversation. Yeah. And I love the work of one of my colleagues, Amy Woderick. Yeah, she wrote this beautiful book called Good Enough, for those of you who are interested and want to get it. Because a lot of us tend to think that this inner critique business must be more for younger people, or must be more for, more junior folk. This book is all about CEOs, right? And she interviewed hundreds of them for her book. And it is so interesting to see these women who are up there, super achievers, talking about their inner critique, talking about their imposter syndrome, talking about how they saw overwhelm, right? And this whole experience of being on a treadmill, running somewhere, yeah, they almost saw it as a badge of honor. And so a lot of them were completely exhausted and overwhelmed with life. And many of us don't make the connection between overwhelm and the inner critique. Yeah, if there wasn't the inner critique telling us you're not good enough, what you're doing isn't enough, you've got to push yourself more. This, whatever you created today is not matching some high standard of your own. You wouldn't be pushing yourself, you wouldn't be doing so much and be so overwhelmed. So a lot of us don't make that connection, but it is a very significant connection. And Amy also talks in her book, of one of her clients, and I just love this image. And so I just borrowed it from her, where it's one of their leaders was saying, all important aspects of my life are like these glass balls. My husband, my children, my family, and I pay close attention that even one shouldn't be falling. I now realize there is no glass ball with my name on it. Yeah. And I cannot tell you how many coaching clients of mine relate to this. Yeah, and more so women than men. Again, because it's part of our socialization of how we are made to imagine that we have to live a life of service and being available to other people. Yeah, and that is part of the inner critique conversation. So again, whether it's the imposter syndrome, overwhelm, or any of this, if you are relating to this, again, I'm just going to ask that you write out a word on your sheet of paper and keep that handy. Now I want to talk about, when does the inner critique appear? Does it mean, in our 12, 14-hour waking hours, it's there all the time? No, it's not there all the time. Yeah, it shows up sometimes, but these situations that you're going to have on the screen, these are found to be often the times when it shows up. And I borrowed this from the work of Tara Moore, again, a wonderful leadership coach and facilitator who's written this beautiful book called Playing Big, for those of you who are interested. So she talks about this, and I just thought it's wonderfully rings true if you begin to see, what I'm just going to say now. So she says, when we need to action our deeply held desires or dreams, that's when the tape will begin. No, how can you do it? What will that one say? What will this one say? How can you give that up? You've studied so many years, you've put in so much effort. This is not the time to blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So the voice and the chatter will start when we want to action some of our deeply held desires. I've had a coachee tell me that, when she was in a difficult marriage and so much of turmoil, emotional distress. And she said that her inner critique was at a 200% loudness for her every day. Yeah. So what does that mean? It means that when we are in a vulnerable place, when we are in a place, of delicateness, somehow this voice for some reason becomes big. Yeah. And this coachee was a very, very senior leader. And she was telling me that, the inner critic would be telling me, you can't, what sort of big leader are you? Yeah. You can't even manage your relationship. Yeah. So you see, it's really not connected at all. She was anyway successful as a leader, but this is how the inner critique works. Yeah, it really pulls out all the stops. And then we begin to feel small. We begin to feel bad about ourselves. It also comes up when we are at the edge of our comfort zone and we need to stretch. So we've never done something before. It is a new for us. It is our first. And that first is only going to happen when we stretch from our comfort zone. But that's exactly when the tape will begin. You've not done this before. What if you make a mistake? How foolish you will look in front of the others. Maybe you can prepare a little more. And, next time when it comes up, that time you can put up your hand. Now it may not, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So again, the tape begins. Or when we are taking an important step, to create a new identity or a breakthrough. I remember, and I write about it in my book, when I created Step Up, which is it's almost 4 years now, not the book, but the course. I remember the inner critique hassled me so much because it would tell me, who are you to create all this? Yeah, you've not even been on a single digital course yourself. Yeah, and you're going to create a digital course. What credibility do you have to do that? Yeah, you haven't been a guest on any webinar 4 years ago. Yeah, webinars were not that big, that time in 2017. And I would hear all of this, and I really needed to get my head sorted out. And talk to my coach for me to get it straight, because the inner critique was absolutely, and if I had listened to that, then Step Up would have never got created. My book never would have got written, because I was telling myself, who are you to be writing? An author, there's no author in your family. What are you thinking? Yeah, that you're going to do. Yeah. Again, it was a new identity that I was creating. It was a breakthrough that I was creating. And it is very commonly known that this is when the inner critique appears. Yeah. And when we are attempting, like I said, to design anything that is absolutely new, some of us, the inner critique shows when we look at the mirror. I wish that nose was, a little, sort of different. I wish, this fat that is here or is there, would just disappear. Yeah. I wish something else. Yeah. About our look. So for some of us, the inner critique is straight up in the morning, the first time we are looking at the mirror. So, Tara Moore says that these are many, many significant occasions when the inner critique shows up. Once again, I'm just going to take a pause and ask you, just look at this list and see, do you relate to some of this? Have you noticed? Was it a new job or an interview, or, were you being featured on some, magazine or an article? And then the inner critic said, who are you? Yeah, to be asked all this. So just make a note and see, is there something here that you relate to? All right. So moving on, recognizing the inner critique. A lot of people ask me, so Sai, I understood that this inner critique is like a tape. It's like this chatter which keeps saying you're no good, you're not ready, just stop, do it some other time, blah, blah, blah. But some of these things can be valuable, right? As in, it may be the voice of sense. It may be the voice of good reason. One of the tricky parts about the inner critique is it can sound so reasonable. Yeah, it can really sound like it's making a lot of sense. So how does one actually recognize it? So I've just got some stuff here that will allow us to just see the difference between, the voice of good reason, because a voice of good reason is important and we all need it. It's as simple as, if you're going to do something that is dangerous, it is our voice of good reason that tells us, maybe that's not a good idea. Yeah. And so it's important for us to listen to that, because it may tell us what we can prepare, what we can get ready for, how we can take care of that situation. So voice of good reason is useful. But the inner critique, it has a somatic component. It will feel something like in your body tensed, contracted. A lot of these English phrases that we all use, butterflies, that can just be fear also. But sometimes it remains for a long time, a pit in our stomach. We feel small, we feel angry, we feel jealous about others. And we probably don't realize that this is when the inner critique has begun to show up. So there is a body component to the inner critique. We actually feel yuck. Yeah, we actually feel that. Yeah. Then we will hear the voice in our head. If you didn't know, then we always have a voice in our head. Yeah, there's always a chatter, and you will hear that. And sometimes it is your own voice, and sometimes it is a voice of someone of authority in our lives. Like I said, my Marathi teacher, right? And I would hear her voice. I've had other people tell me that, oh, I can hear my mom. She always said, you're whatever, amount to nothing, or, you're going to learn the hard way, or, you're impossible, or, something like that. And they would actually hear those voices, right? And this voice is typically saying some not so nice things to us. So we will actually hear inside of our head of the voice, and we will see the behaviors, that we have practiced. Some of our behaviors are, patterns of dropping our plans, constantly second guessing ourselves. So we're making a decision. The next 2 minutes, the decision has changed, and then in the 10th minute, the decision has changed back. We see that oscillation. And for some of us, it's a pattern of ours, right? Some of us stop in our tracks. We lose motivation towards our goals. These are behaviors that we, quietly, but surely many of us know this about ourselves, right? So when we see this whole combination, the body component, the mind chattering component, and we actually see the behaviors, it is useful to begin telling yourself, this is perhaps the inner critique, not just the voice of reason. Yeah. So these are some of the ways of recognizing it. So that brings me to the question of, how do we therefore work with this inner critique? Because now we all, we've understood it. We've seen how, from where it comes. We've seen when it shows up. We've seen how it feels like for us. So what do we do? Yeah, what do we do with it? How do we sidestep it? So I want to talk about some aspects that I find are very, very useful in, all the thousands of people who've done courses and have been coached. I find some of these methods very valuable because I have used it for myself, and many others have. The first is, identify the inner critique voice first, and understand that it is a helper that wishes to keep you safe. A lot of people, I find, criticize the inner critique. They want to throw it in the dustbin. They want it to vanish and say, I hope it's just never there in my life. What I want you to understand is that the inner critique developed pretty early, usually in our life, well before we were, say, 20 years old. Most of the time, that's when it has grown. And it has grown because it wanted us to, keep us safe. There was some situation, where this inner critique developed, where if we had not done that, maybe we wouldn't have been safe. Maybe we would have got shouted at. Maybe we would have got criticized. Maybe we would have, put ourselves out in a place that was not safe or maybe dangerous for us. And therefore, this voice, has grown and enhanced with actually this wish in mind. So I find that, the first step is to not look at your inner critique as a terrible thing, but to look on it a little kindly. Yeah, because it's a part of us that wants, to keep us safe, doesn't want us to fall flat on our face, doesn't want us to be hurt in any way, doesn't want, an adverse impact for us. And that is why it comes up and the tape starts playing. So first and foremost is that change your mindset towards the inner critique. It is not something to be shushed. It is not something to be thrown out. It is not something to cut away from your life. Yeah, it is something to look on, to understand, to say, oh, the tape has begun again, and to be more kind towards it. Yeah, so this is the first step. The second I find is find out what you deeply care about, personally, professionally, because the inner critique walks with us for many, many years and years of our life, right? It is not something that just goes off. So therefore, when the inner critique comes up, what is it that allows us, to continue walking with focus, knowing what our goals and our professional and personal cares are, what we deeply care about, what do we want to commit our time and energy to? Yeah, what is it that we want to put our attention to? If we are clear about that, then the inner critique can be sidestepped more easily, because, we'd say, yes, I hear that, thank you, I can hear the voice, but I'm still going to take my next step and move. But when we don't know our goals and what we deeply, deeply want to commit ourselves to, then the inner critique can stop us in our tracks. So therefore, I say, find out what is it that is worthy of your energy, your attention, and your time, because that will allow you to move on despite the inner critique. The other is take a nice deep breath and find your ground. So when you hear the voice, when you feel your body in that tight, contracted space, find your ground. What is ground? Ground is literally that which holds us, isn't it? We stand on ground, which is firm and holds us. So some of us, sometimes we have to find our ground. And I'm going to go and do a small little piece so that we can all find our ground. Create an affirmation for yourself and, repeat it multiple times a day. That's a wonderful way of, I won't say quietening, but sidestepping the inner critique. Because this affirmation will allow you to have the energy and the focus to move ahead. Because like I said, the inner critique doesn't go away very easily. You see, it was created to keep us safe, right? So it's a mechanism that stays. We have to learn to go beyond it. So therefore, our positive affirmations like I'm choosing courage over fear, or I'm moving towards a life of expansion, or, I am important, any of these, and I'll give you some more as we go along. So these are really useful. Journal your experience. Reflection always helps us grow. And lastly, build your network of women who hold you to your highest vision of yourself, like the network of Aspire for Her, right? All of us hold each other, to our highest vision. We stroke each other, we encourage each other, we pitch in with each other. And this is so important. Again, why? Because the inner critique is, just going to keep walking along. And sometimes it's soft, sometimes it's very loud at different stages of our lives. So having a network of people that walks with you, especially women, I find is very, very valuable. So now what I want to do is one last piece. I see it's 5:17. This will just take 2-3 minutes. I'm going to ask you on your pen and paper, to pick it up and write 5 of your strengths. So I am whatever, ambitious, spontaneous, go-getter, intelligent, whatever you want to write. Quickly put down 5 strengths of yours. Okay. And now we create your ground statement. I've just provided some here. You don't have to pick from it, but if you'd like some of them, and this ground statement is a fantastic antidote to your inner critique chatter. So if you like a sentence, then make a note of it on your paper. And I love some of these sentences and I use them all the time for myself. I'm moving ahead and expanding. I can go at my pace. I'm good enough and growing. I'm a dignified beginner. I love this. I use this when I had to create Step Up. I'm a dignified beginner in this area and I'm okay. I'm important and so are my dreams. So if you like something, just write out the 1 or 2 sentences on your piece of paper. And now what I want you to do is take one look at that paper so that you can, you have a sense of your inner critique, you have a sense of your 5 strengths, and you have a sense of your ground statement. Yeah. And now I want you to, put away your pen and paper, sit down with your feet flat on the ground, close your eyes for a moment, and take a few deep breaths, filling your chest, filling your stomach and your belly with some fantastic big gulps of air. Breathing in and breathing out, feet flat on the ground. And as you continue to sit there, allowing yourself now to just remember the 5 strengths that you wrote out for yourself and just say it in your mind. I am ambitious, whatever you wrote. Take a deep breath. Allow yourself now to say the ground statement that you chose for yourself. And just repeat that 2 or 3 times. And now say to yourself, I'm going to move ahead with ambition and with a belief in myself. I am the creator of all my possibilities. All that I need is inside of me. And I deserve to take care of what I care about. Take a deep breath. And as you remember your strengths, your grounding statement, allow yourself to pull back your shoulders. Feel your spine grow by an inch. Pull yourself up by an inch. And just notice how you feel in this moment. As you sit deeply anchored in your ground, in your strengths, and in the possibilities that you deserve to create for yourself. Take a deep breath. Once again, feeling the ground beneath your feet and gently, slowly opening your eyes. And that brings me to the end of what I wanted to share with you. Just leaving it open now for what you have for me.
Wow, that was an interesting session. I was literally, carried away with all the positive energy which I got from the session. Thank you so much, ma'am. The podium is now open for question and answer. If anyone have any questions for ma'am or any queries, you can just put it in the chat box or simply unmute yourself and ask.
Thank you, Dolveen. Madhura, you've written that lovely statement. I love that too.
Sushma ma'am has some question, ma'am. You can go forward.
Hi, how are you doing? I was attempting to unmute. For the life of me, I don't know how to lower my hand. Okay, here I am. Hi, Sai, it was a wonderful session, I must say. Thank you for that. I have just a very simple question. I don't know if it makes sense yet. The thing is that there is this constant perspective. Now, I understand the entire bit about the chatter, the inner dialogue, etc. Yet, throughout my life, there's always been this aspect of having to prove to myself, right? So I'm an entrepreneur running 3 businesses and always ready to do more. Yet, whenever it is, there is this kind of a drive. And I wanted to share with you, when I was going through it, the sad part of it is that that drive was fueled by the inner critic. And I'm calling it sad. I mean, to the external world, it's wonderful. Yet this is something that just came to my perspective. Now, is that possible?
Thank you for such a open sharing, Sushma. It's a place of vulnerability for you as a leader. It's absolutely possible, and a lot of us do not realize it, and so it is sad, because our drive for creation, yeah, whether it's 2 companies or 5 or whatever else we do, can come from a deep connection to purpose and what we care about. It doesn't have to come from a connection to proving ourselves, right? We need to prove ourselves because the inner critique is at work inside, and therefore there is a drive. But I think what we really, sooner we begin to see it, the better, that our drive can come from a more positive place. And that positive place is what I spoke about, which is our deep connection and clarity on what we want to do, why we care about it, and what deserves my energy and my attention. Yeah, our huge drive can come from there. And when it comes from there, Sushma, that's a very different kind of drive, right? We're not going around like literally headless chickens, doing stuff. It's a different kind of drive. So yeah, very much possible.
Yeah, and so I think I agree with you in a lot of ways, Sai, because of late, a lot of things that I do is very purposeful. Yet there is this, I don't know, Ram, Lakhan, 2 of them having this wonderful conversation in my head that sometimes it makes me feel I'm going a little crazy. Yet, thank you for that. I think it was wonderful. It's all about being aware. So I really appreciate your time, Sailaja, and Madhura and Sana and the entire team. Thank you so much for this. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your question.
Excuse me, ma'am.
ma'am, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you were telling about the book which were written by your friend,
Yes.
and you talked about overwhelming. So
Yes.
I didn't get it. Can you repeat?
Sure. So when the inner critique is on for us, yeah, we start pushing ourselves and start doing more and more and more, because when we do more, we tell ourselves, oh, we're okay. Yeah, because I'm doing more and more. And so the impact of the inner critique is that many of us are completely overwhelmed with life because we are pushing ourselves so much. So what I wanted to show you was the connection between overwhelm and the inner critique. Is that clear now?
Yes, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So we have next question from Aparna. So Aparna says that should entrepreneurs and leaders have a coach to walk them through this inner critic thoughts and help them address the question?
Just repeat that, please.
So should entrepreneurs and leaders have a coach to walk them through their inner critic and help them address the questions?
Should they have a course, did you say?
Coach.
Coach.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes a good friend can do that for us. But sometimes we need more than a good friend, yeah, because some of these pieces are so deep rooted that a coach will really sort of, help us get it out from the roots and help us, with so many ideas. And it's, coaching is a scaffolding, right, for us to climb. That's how I look at it. So yeah, very, very valuable for entrepreneurs, for leaders, to look for that scaffolding and set it up and proactively do it. Yes.
We'd actually done a session for our some of our members, and we had got a bunch of coaches in.
Yes,
so I did, you remember, sometime back, few months back. So we keep doing these, and and sometimes there are very generous coaches like Sai who offer, say, you know what, I have some space in this cohort. Would you like to refer someone? And we'd love to have more of you express interest in coaching. If you know it, then we know that we can always kind of put it up in our Telegram groups, and we request people to just put their hand up and avail of these opportunities.
Absolutely, yes. I see there's someone with their hand up here.
Anju.
Anju. Hi, Anju.
Hi, Sai, and hi, Sana, Madhura. Thank you for this wonderful session. And Sai, you have explained such a deep concept so simply and in such a short time. There were so many things in there I could identify with. And I think all sole entrepreneurs would identify with a lot of things that you've spoken about. I am in an area of work which is very challenging, which is in the area of sex education. And I am constantly overwhelmed because it is a category creation. And so my question to you was that, yes, as an entrepreneur, I am questioning myself whenever I have to take the next big step, which I'm in fact on the brink of. And is it the inner critique, or is it sometimes the overwhelming feeling could also be because of lack of resources? How do you differentiate that?
Sure. I think first and foremost important to understand that in a category creation, Anju, like sex education or even women's work, it is a political act, the way I look at it. It is literally that. You are changing culture and conversation. So it is an uphill task, right? So to feel overwhelmed comes with the territory. Yeah. So I think that's that aspect. So I want to just put that out there. The second is, yes, overwhelm can definitely happen because there is a lack of resources, because we have too much to do. But you know what? That's still connected with the inner critique, because when we want to, ask for help, or we want to allocate a budget for something, the inner critic will tell you, oh, you're still small fry. You haven't done that much that you will get a coach for yourself, that you will put yourself through a learning experience. Kuch karke dikhao to pehle. Then you talk about, you see all this? This is the inner critique, because we all deserve to have help, right, Anju? Yeah, we all deserve to have scaffolding. Yeah, nobody has said that when we are in the ground floor and first floor, we cannot have scaffolding, that you need scaffolding only when you're in floor 4 and 5. No, how wonderful that from ground up we can have scaffolding. But you know what? We won't provide it to ourselves, because somewhere this niggling voice will tell you that, you've not yet reached that place that you can provide that scaffolding to you. Yeah, you've not yet reached that place that you can make these bold requests, of people, to assist you or to walk with you or to contribute. And there lies the inner critique piece.
No, absolutely. Very, very valid. Thank you for this. And you've left us with a lot of fodder for thought.
Sure.
And of course, change. Thank you for that. Really.
Thank you, Anju, for your question.
Next is Latha Sabam. Can you unmute and ask your question?
Hi, Sai.
Hi, Latha.
That's a wonderful session, and I could almost relate to 80% of what you have mentioned in the form of your explanation and the PowerPoint. Because it's over a period of time, be it in personal or in professional life, I did experience whatever you have mentioned.
Yeah.
So it's been a constant tough battle for me, and till date. And what I wanted to ask you, I have several questions. Definitely, I would like to meet you on a one-to-one later on. But for today's session, just keeping one question straight. I am facing a criticism from the other side. So say, for example, from the professional side, could be a small criticism. So it's a constant, I would say, hidden bullying kind of a thing, wherein they don't want others to know, but it's like one person, be it my peer level or even an admin, it's a constant bully to show authority on us.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not wrong, I feel I'm not wrong. I feel I'm giving my 100% of work. Yeah. I'm doing better. I go with a creative idea, but I'm always dragged to the backbench.
Yes.
And it is continuously happening. So this is one thing on the professional side.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in the personal side also, since I don't get much support of my work from the family. So it's like a typical husband and wife, husband authoritative on the wife. So that kind of a stuff. So it is overtaxing for me, and sometimes it is hitting on my health now.
Sure.
So how do I take it slow. Not in terms of take it, how to manage two things. It's like two swords in my head, two swords into my body at a single time.
So first and foremost, Lata, I want to acknowledge your question that you have brought in a very public forum like this, just laid it out in such a simple and beautiful way. So thank you for your courage in doing that. Lata, I find that as we grow in our careers move ahead, and we all want to move ahead, one of the very significant skills for all of us is what I just call conversational skills or relational intelligence. Yeah, knowing how to deal with different categories of people, including bullies. Yeah, including people who are in subtle or overt ways undermining who you are. And I find many of us don't bring the skills that are needed for those conversations, but they are very essential skills. Unfortunately, they're not taught to us in schools or colleges. It's not part of academics. But actually, it is these skills, our capacity to say what we want to say, to find our voice, to put things on the table, to drag out things from under the carpet, put it in a dignified and respectful way on the table. These are the skills that are actually needed, Lata. And it is those same skills that we also need in our personal life. Yeah, when those whom we live with do not give significance, to our efforts, our dreams, our energy, I find it is the same quality, Lata, which is needed in our personal life, and the same quality that is needed also professionally to deal with this bully. And that quality is really to find the courage and the language, right, to put across your thoughts, to the person, or to escalate it to someone in authority who can be a support for you so that you can move ahead. And what I want to point out to you is that, if you have the courage to bring such a question to a forum like this, clearly, Lata, you have what it takes. Yeah, I want you to just recognize that now. Yeah, you have what it takes, and just take this quality both into the professional sphere and elsewhere. My only request is do it with care, do it with respect, do it with dignity, but don't mince words. Yeah, people get confused about it. I think we don't have to mince our words, but we can still retain ours and the other person's dignity by laying the cards on the table. So, talk to somebody, take some support so that you can language it. But okay. I want you, when you go away from the session, to know that you have what it takes to do it, because otherwise you would not have asked this question here. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I will find out. Yeah, thank you.
Second last question from Himanshi.
Hello, Mom. It was a lovely session, ma'am. It was really informative, and I could connect to almost everything you said. One of my major questions is, like you mentioned, like your Marathi teacher who kind of discouraged you a bit.
Yes.
Sometimes those voices get louder than the voices that are encouraging me.
Yes.
And how do I deal with that one? Like, how do I phase out the discouragement and go for the motivating, voices, people who support me?
Himanshi, are you part of the AFH community?
No, Mom, not.
Okay, you should join the AFH community. Yeah, because those who have any inner critique, you will start seeing it vanishing because of the kind of mentoring, scaffolding, support, resources, and the voices of so many mentors and senior leaders who are part of the AFH community. So Himanshi, when the inner voice gets too loud, yeah, what we have to learn to do is set up a new voice in our real world today. Yeah, leaders and mentors and friends, whose voice can then go in, and that voice is then much louder, than this other voice. It can't get us down. And from my own seeing of AFH and what happens, I find that a lot of young people like Sana, like Sneha, like so many of the others here, who are absorbing the energy of so many of us who have walked this journey and continue to walk this journey. It's not as though the inner critic doesn't show up for us. No, we still walk with it. We're still doing stuff. The inner critic still shows up, right? So I find all of us have had the scaffolding. Each of us deserves to have this support. So I'm going to ask you to go out and look there for a mentor or, a support system or a community that will be the wind beneath your wings. We all need it.
Thank you so much for that, ma'am.
You're welcome.
I will look up more.
You're welcome.
Lastly, we have Aparna ma'am. She had raised her hand.
Yes.
So that's a bonus, Sana. Thank you. I wasn't expecting to get the second question in. So yes, Sai, absolutely mind-blowing. And it's something I'm on the other side today, listening, learning, and receiving more than learning. Learning is only at the shallow level. Receiving is the word for you. So thank you very much. My question is this inner voice that we're talking about. I was, as I was doing that exercise that you gave us, I was thinking back to the reasons for diagnosing this inner voice that keeps coming up all the time. So whether you face criticism at work, you face criticism, and with ladies, we're facing criticism with in-laws, you're doing this, that, so many things. Meaning, I don't want to elaborate.
Yes.
So when you trace back, actually, it's probably it goes deep in. How do you recognize it and how do you actually uproot it from the source?
I find, Aparna, this is where, reflective conversations, with others are so valuable. I find journaling is very valuable, because it just brings up, all the muck that is inside, out, and then we can actually see it on paper. And I find that sometimes when we journal and we just write, all kinds of things that we didn't imagine were inside us start appearing on the paper. It's really like a bizarre thing, but I've used it so many times, Aparna, and I find it's a fabulous method, a very underrated one. The second one I find is to seek somebody and talk about it. Yeah, talk about it with the utmost vulnerability that you can take. You have to say that, there are days like this when I just feel like I'm crap. Yeah, even though I know who I am, I have these strengths, but it's such a, it's so terrible. So when we speak like this, I find the good counsel of the other person, their wonderful mind, their kindness, their open-heartedness is available to us. And they are able to see what we cannot see, right? And I find we are able to sometimes go to the root. Some of us need a coach. Some of us need more than a coach. Yeah, we need counselors, because some of us have had very, very harsh experiences in our early years. Some of us have grown up in environments that, should have been a lot better, a lot kinder, a lot more giving, but it wasn't. So those experiences, especially when we are young, from either parents or family, or sometimes it's a crisis, like even COVID now. Yeah, COVID has pulled the carpet from many, many young people's lives, right from under their feet, and they are left rudderless. Now, these are very, very traumatic experiences, Aparna. And if we are one of those, then that has a very big impact. And I find sometimes even coaching is not enough. Yeah, people really need, some kind of counseling, some kind of therapy, because then you literally dig it out from the root. Yeah, so I think depending on how grave our inner critique chatter is, I think the solution also, there is a range of things that we can do. I hope I've answered you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Taking the last question from Tanuja.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. Hi, ma'am. This is Tanuja.
Yeah, Tanuja.
It was a very nice session, very interesting session. I have a question. The question is like, I can't say inner critic, I can say inner voice, which always goes on in our mind. What I've experienced is it's always for our good, and it is kind of a what do you call a thing which is showing you the way to go ahead, and it is always positive is what I feel. Is this correct, or have you experienced the same?
It's wonderful that you are able to see it with so much kindness, Tanuja, and which is the point that I was making when I put that slide on mastering your inner critique, is to befriend it, is to learn to walk with it, is to learn to say, it's okay, it's there for a good reason. So what I want to say is that, yes, it is there for a good reason. It is there to help us, most of the time to protect us. But what happens, Tanuja, is for some of us, our inner critique is quite mean. Yeah. In which case, when we listen to it, the voice telling us, you're so stupid, you do this every time. You said you won't go and talk about it, but see you've fallen flat on your face. Why do you always do this? Can you see how harsh this sounds? For some of us, our inner critique is like this, Tanuja. So it is hard for us to see that it is a helpful voice. Yeah, actually, it's a voice that gets us down. So if you are able to see it as a helpful voice, if you're able to see it as a place, that will allow you to move from and move ahead, then good for you. All I'm saying is it's not like that for everybody. For some of us, it is quite terrible. For some of us, we stop in our tracks. For some of us, we lose all our energy. Yeah. So I'm just saying that it can be different for different people.
I have felt it always encouraging. So I was thinking, am I wrong? Or
No,
is
I
it
don't
the
think
same
you're
person?
wrong. That's how the inner critique is for you. Right?
Okay.
It's just that for some others, it may not be like that. Yeah. And it's also possible that for some of us, our tapes in our mind are more encouraging tapes, because for some good reason, those are the tapes that we have created. Our environment may have been more positive, encouraging, and we have built those tapes, yeah, or those narratives, in which case we will not experience our inner critique as very, very harsh or stopping us. So maybe you're one of them, Tanuja.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Last question I'll be taking as so now I'm moderator as a bonus question. Ma'am, will this inner critic voice ever disappear?
No, Sana, it doesn't disappear. Yeah, I find it becomes softer. I find that, we get other people's in our lives and their encouragement and their powerful words, and that becomes louder than this, mean, repetitive voice. I think it starts showing up lesser and lesser. Like if I look at my own journey, in my 20s and 30s, the inner critic would have been raging. Like I would hear it every day, right? But more off late in the last, say 10 years, the voice is reduced. It shows up, sometimes, not so often. And when it shows up, it just becomes quiet very soon. That's also because I have developed so many tools and ways of moving ahead. So no, I think managing our inner critique is a skill. It's a life skill that all of us must learn, whether we are men or women. So no, it doesn't disappear. Its impact on us reduces. That's what I would say.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much for your valuable time and explaining us everything so well. We have put up the feedback form on the chat box, so please do fill up and respond to it. For any queries, feel free to reach out to FH on any social media platform. We are on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Medium, and Sheroes. Also, I would like to add on that today itself we have posted on Sailaja ma'am and her story on our initiative Enter Narrative. So please do check out the post. Lastly, I would like to call upon Ruchita ma'am to give vote of thanks.
Hi, Sai. It's such a powerful session, and I'm so glad that we finally got you. The last 3 months, I've been trying to move about and get one session, and finally, the moment you said yes, we grasped it. So thank you so much for taking the time out. And yes, by sidestepping your inner critique. I think as kids also, I have seen a lot of people around. The first thing where you see the inner critique stops them is when you have a tough exam, where in the morning everybody says, I'm not feeling well, I think my stomach is paining, I think I have to go. And it never stops. But I definitely agree that I have seen it for myself also. With age, it does mellow down. You kind of understand, you develop your tools, and that's how you move about. But as a platform at Aspire for Her also, what we build is a peer community. And I strongly feel that it is your peers who actually help you at such times. And you have to be frank about it. You have to accept it, and only then you can think about it. Giving those 5 minutes to think about what you want to really do is actually an answer where you have to go. Sailaja is actually a mentor at Aspire for Her, and we are really proud to have a variety of mentors, and all of you can get mentored. If you're not a member at Aspire for Her, definitely go to our website, look at the community that you wish to enroll and become a member for free, and start using our resources. And after the session, if you would like to get mentored by Sai, please write into Madhura at Aspire for Her, and we would be happy to connect you and start growing and learning at every stage of your life. Thank you for your valuable time, and thank you for each one of you for being here. Thanks, Sana. You've been really good, wonderful moderated. And of course, our all credit to our founder, Madhura Dasgupta Sinha, for creating such a platform that's buzzing and encouraging at every day, especially for women, and of course for even men too. But yes, women definitely find a safe landing place over here. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye,
Thank you all the
everyone.
lovely audience.
Thank you.
Thank you.